100% off the strength, man.
Off the strength.
I did it all on the strength, all on the strength. Fuck talking, I'ma do this off the strength.
Run it back, can't relax, that's just facts off the strength.
It's off the strength. Can't get that off the strength.
Show you right. You just gotta start talking like that,
bro.
Show
you right.
Start saying a bunch of, oh, yeah.
Don't stop till you get enough. What's going on, fam? This is KR Jones of the Off the Strength podcast, and I am here to tell you to like, listen, subscribe, and if you're feeling freaky, visit offthestrength.com. That's where you can go and get more information on us. That's where we can link, we can build, we can connect, and let's make this thing work.
Who was one of your favorite radio personalities coming up?
Man, I think it would have to be Tom Joyner. The Tom Joyner Morning Show.
I didn't get him until he was in syndication. This was much later down the lines.
We had Frank Ski.
Okay.
You know, Pork Chop that's the dude's name. His name was Pork Chop. Mark Clark. That's what it was called. Mark Clark Morning Show.
Man, and Love and Dre had all of my childhood in a chokehold.
Oh, but wait, Love was in the house.
Yeah, nah, that's a different dude.
I know, but I'm combining the worlds.
That's where the age starts to show.
I did watch that Who's the Man though. I remember Overweight Lovers is, heavy boys or Heavy D and the Fat Boys.
I was about to say that's Heavy D.
There we go.
It's not the same. What's good, everybody? What's good? Welcome back to yet another episode of Off the Strength. We give you an inside look into all things wellness culture. I'm a trainer called Tony, and of course, with me, I have a gentleman of extraordinary league.
KR Jones is in the building.
That's right, folks. We are back. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type from near and far, you are now in store for a treat because it's the return of the variety show. That's when we give you our best foot forward. So hopefully you take your best foot forward. You do that two-step, that tango, whatever it is you need to do to make it on through the week with the best goddamn wellness information available.
Yeah.
My brother KR Jones, how you feeling today, my man?
Man, I'm happy to be back on the MIC, man.
Okay.
We had a little time off, and, it feels good to come back into the city. And the week has been full of fun and adventure.
Well, I will agree with you on most of what you said.
Where do you disagree, Tom?
I did completely enjoy my time off. I am happy to be back, but I would trade the city in for a couple of different things. I'm feeling like slowly but surely we're breaking into one of my favorite kind of times in New York, so we're getting into that spring, summer kind of season.
Yeah.
I hate New York winter, though, and I'm trying to trade that in as soon as I can, as fast as possible, bro.
We almost through it.
I'm very much on the line at any point in time. One cold winter could send me back into hibernation. I feel like Puxatawny Phil and all the rest of them.
There's a lot of snow this year.
Can't get with it, man. But other than the time off, what else been going on with you, bro?
Man, I've been onboarding on a new gig.
Okay.
I don't know where the line is or what I can say and what I can't, so I'm keeping my cards close until the time is right. Nonetheless, I realized that I had work fatigue this week, bro.
Okay.
And the last time I had work fatigue was like when the pandemic had happened and everybody wasn't working. And then when you went back to work eventually, like a year or so afterwards, the first time I was really fatigued, I was like, I talked a lot today.
Yeah.
And it was like, I forgot what it was like to talk to so many different people because I was used to being at home. So I was physically kind of exhausted this week. My face was in a screen for way too many hours, 40 to be exact.
There we go. That's kind of what a typical work week is. They got you back in the system.
Man, I'm back in the system.
That's what's up, man. I'm both happy and understanding of your batteries being depleted from having that much interaction with the screen time. And plus, it's also, I found it draining working from home that you don't really get that separation that you need to make your mental space feel different when you are doing something for work in your also space for rest.
Yeah.
So I definitely had to
rest amongst other things.
Yeah. Other stuff. Extracurricular activities. So much space for activities.
My desk, but that's my after dark situation right next to each other.
Yeah, exactly. So your work and life balance is literally going to be tested, man.
Every time.
I definitely want to take that same sentiment into this week's Ask the Professionals, Brother Jones. See, I need you to tell the good people out there in listener world about the importance of you taking that time to recharge your battery. How does that impact your output?
Man, recharging the battery is necessary because we live in this tech-savvy world. Mm-hmm. Everything has to charge, from your Apple Watch to your phone to your AirPods to your mouse to your keyboard. Like, if everything that we use to function, quote unquote, has to charge, it would be foolish to think that you wouldn't need that same type of treatment.
Wow.
And that same experience. And for me, when I do have a chance to hit that recharge, or I'm forced into it, because that's the other side of the coin, is you can go as fast as you want without charging. Life is going to catch up to you, whether that comes in the form of an injury, an accident, a breakup. You insert whatever it is, but it's going to force you to kind of change your pace. And when you do that, it's important to really kind of sit in that hard reset, right? Like the old school technology was, if it was broke, unplug it out the wall and plug it back in. Let that reboot happen.
Yeah.
And that reboot is your evaluation of how you feel, how you are, what do you want, what do you need, what do you have? Like all of these questions kind of got to be answered, and then you can move forward.
I feel like I agree with that. You get some type of clarity from the stillness, if I could interpret that way. Also, for me, I feel like with that time to recharge comes an influx of creative inspiration. You know, I don't find that I could be in a state of just burnout or adjacent to that and not be as creatively inspired to do something. And I don't necessarily have the motivation to go into different directions. So taking that time, kind of like you said, is essential for you to actually literally be able to move forward in the way that you intended. You know, even if you're forced to do it, appreciate the stillness and see where you can kind of move yourself going forward. You know, how do you tap in on that, let's say, on a either daily or weekly basis?
It's tough because I think about the old adage, if you will, of like some of my best work came under pressure.
Yeah, okay.
When it came time for me to perform, it was like, oh, until I have this deadline, until I have this constriction, I can't get the best out of life. And it comes with a mindset switch that has to take place.
Can I pause you for a second?
What's up?
What do you think that comes from?
I don't know if it is some type of defense mechanism, if it's a ego thing. Like I've really tried to unpack it all of these years. Like I've never had a definitive answer, but I do think that it's just something that I'm aware of now more than anything else.
Yeah, I only had to pause you because I literally was having this conversation the other day about some type of evolutionary trait that the pressure from that situation where like you feel increased anxiety, really, or increased external pressure to perform a task that you know you had to do, right? Somehow, evolutionarily speaking, that was in your fight or flight kind of response. Somehow that was like, I need to get this meal or I need to get the fuck up out of here, right?
Yeah.
Since we don't have those things imposed on us on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, but we have the same stress indicators, like your email stress is going to feel like that lion of stress at some point.
Yeah.
Right? In today's context, we don't really have an outlet to move it the way that we need to. So I was looking into something about how exercise can induce that same level of how do you focus and how do you move forward? Because if you, let's say, have that same tendency to, let's put it on perfection, procrastinate, right?
Yeah.
What does it look like if you do a hard workout before you try to take on a task that you know is hanging over your head? Do you feel like you got either more in tune with it, or do you feel like, you know, it was something that helps you focus on it a little bit more? You know, I'm just really curious about those kind of things. So I know it was a little bit of a tangent, but it's the second time I had that conversation this week. I'm like, yo, there's probably something here about where we need to be as a hunter-gatherer, you know, an organic thug himself.
You got to stay ready so you ain't got to get ready.
Yeah.
And that comes from that preparation.
Okay.
You know? But I do think, just to add to that briefly, like the workout is vast and what it could be. Like it doesn't have to be, you know, slanging and banging in the gym, so to speak, pumping iron. Like, yeah, you know,
I was about to say, you slanging and banging in your gym? I was like, that's how you doing it?
And, you know, sometimes when you get into that, you know, but we're not going to talk about that. What we're going to talk about is just exertion. And I think that as we get older, the energy to exert yourself is gone. Like, that's why you see people falling in these foot races on the street and like uncles losing it at cookouts, is because they not really pushing themselves further physically. We missed that. And that's why gym was my favorite class as a kid, because I always pushed myself further. And you see how I ended up.
Yeah, you was one of them kids that was competing at things that didn't need to have
Goddamn
competitions.
right. Everything.
I tell them I shoot faster than you.
Yeah. I race you over there.
Yeah. It's like, who could drink the most water right right now. Go.
Bet you can't touch that up there.
It's like nobody's in competition for these things.
Yeah.
I got the sharper pencil, dog. He's like, you don't know.
Straight up.
All right, man. So it sounds like that whole physical exertion is going to be something that's required to keep people focused and to keep you maybe able to throttle in and out of charging that battery versus taking that time off. And Kyle, that's going to be something that I also want to investigate a little bit this week as we look into some good.
Okay.
Then we're going to look at some bad.
All right.
And we're going to talk about some stuff that might be questionable and damn right ugly. Kyle, it's time for this week's episode of Rip from the Head On. Now, first things up. We're talking about physical exertion. I don't know if you've paid attention to any of the news coming out of the government, but we have some changing of the guard, and along with that changing of the guard comes with some changing of standards for physical fitness. Now, Kyle, this week, from military.com, the Army is breaking its own body fat standards to meet newer recruiting numbers. So apparently, they have lowered their standard a little bit, allowing a little bit more body fat so that people can actually meet the numbers that we need inside of the next round of recruitment. And at the same time, Kyle, the FBI director, Kash Patel, newly appointed, has now come up with a standard for the FBI that he wants to try to bring in some of the UFC-style training for the feds. Now, Brother Jones, there's a lot of moving pieces in these stories. Both require us to look at and evaluate what the fitness of government is. What's your thoughts on the change of these standards?
When you really unpack federal work, put that FBI, military, things of that nature, it's a different lifestyle. Like, one could even argue you're no longer an individual anymore. You're just an organization. Like, you're part of an organization.
Kind of like a team.
Kind of like a team. And with that, there has to be standards to uphold and maintain the team. Now, the Army, I don't really know too much about. Like, the foot soldier game seems like an antiquated type of warfare in my eyes these days, especially when you got shit like COVID and Instagram on your phone. But nonetheless, sliding out of that, I think that when you look at something like the FBI incorporating UFC-style fighting, I already assumed they did that. Like, I didn't even think that wasn't not on the menu.
Nah,
like,
you need to have that in the back pocket now, bro.
I know they got like special forces teams and like the real killers that's out there, but like UFC is literally just fighting for your life or a paycheck.
I don't know how I necessarily feel about, the standards changing on both of these fronts. I want to make sure that we just pay attention to all the people that was around and who get money from this kind of situation.
Yeah.
So whether or not they're trained like people who actually fight in active sports combat.
Yep.
The fact that we said UFC in this is the main line for me was kind of like, hey, there's going to be a contract that's issued around here that somebody's going to get paid for using that name, image, and likeness.
Handsomely. They probably got a podcast.
I feel like everything's for sale now. I just don't understand anymore.
You didn't know? That's because if you got to ask the price, my good brother, you can't afford it.
This place is not real anymore, man. So speaking of the unreal, Kyle, I am going to keep going down this line and talk about some of the stuff that I saw this week. Now, we have spoken about Travis Barker, Diplo, and Action Bronson himself starting run clubs. Now, Kyle, I had to double back because apparently more musicians are weighing in on the situation. Now, did you get to see that country star Jelly Roll has launched his own run club, the Losers Run Club, and is going to be training him for his next 5K?
All right, Tony. I want you to give me that list again. It's just everybody you name from the top.
Travis Barker.
Uh-huh.
Diplo.
Okay.
Action Bronson.
Uh-huh.
And now Jelly Roll.
What do all four of these men have in common?
I want you to tell me.
I just want you ran down the list. Let me know the commonality or common denominator amongst all four of these individuals.
Kyle, I don't see race. Kyle, I don't. I'm like one of those.
I'm going to leave that right there. That's for the folks to rewind that and catch that one. What I do want to talk about, though, is I'm actually happy for Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
Now, I was introduced to this brother's music surprisingly in an Uber in Baltimore. I never thought that would be the day. We got picked up after a wedding. We were going to a bar. The dude got in the whip. I told you about that Uber conversation. Brief tangent. Most people use their personal cars outside of New York. Mm-hmm. This was homie personal car. Fam, he had interior lights like a video game setup. You know that Gen Z blue, purple, red light behind everything. That was the inside of his car, and all of his music was movie soundtrack worthy. Like, think of like the soundtrack of like a commercial for Transformers or some shit. There's music in there, but it's a lot of other sound effects that like you wouldn't get unless you was in the theater.
See, that's going to directly impact your rating for me. You ain't getting more
See
than
how I
a half
laid
star.
out this whole story? So he was extra personable. He's like, yo, what kind of music y'all like? He's like, man, whatever, it's your car. You do what you want to do. He's like, oh, man, y'all ain't heard Jelly Roll? I was like, who the fuck is Jelly Roll? And when he played his music, I was floored because I had no idea what I got into, what I was listening to. His name is so deceiving, but oddly perfect for who he is. I'm happy he got a run club, and I'm going to leave it at that.
There we go. All right. So for those who might not know, the country rap superstar has been inspiring fans with his weight loss journey and health transformation over the past few years, right? So he has not only completed his first successful 5K, but he is also going to be training for a half marathon in 2025. So salute to that man and salute to his run club. He is also partnering with Strava, Kyle. Now, this is also something that I wanted to highlight in this story because the music industry.
They owe us a check, bro.
And the fitness industry.
We didn't drop that name far too much.
They are cutting checks. This is what I'm trying to point out.
All right, lay it out one more time.
If we needed to change the list of people that we started off with highlighting.
Look at the camera, Tony.
I want you to look back to your list of people starting run clubs who are clearly getting checks. Okay, Kyle. Now, there was a common denominator.
I ain't light enough.
You was trying to find a denominator. Kyle, if we needed to start a run club, what's a vital ingredient in this run club?
That we need? A napkin of mackin. That's what we need.
This is what we're missing from the show.
Damn it.
We got to figure it out.
We used to have one. Shout out to Jesse, man.
Here we go. Wherever he's at, yo, we got to bring him back.
Much love to him.
Yo, all right, fam, I got to look into this next story. Last week, we talked about Snickers rolling out their protein bar. I want to let you know that Cliff Builders Bars said, no, we're not going to be left out of this race, and they have partnered with Oreo to release their own protein bar. So how do you feel about hearing now that there's going to be more fast foods trying to mask themselves as fit foods, Kyle?
Damn, that's a bar. Fast foods trying to mask themselves as fit food. When I think about the race of healthy stuff getting unhealthy, you know what I mean? It's like, why are we doing this? Who asked for this? There was a world where it was just separate, where I'm eating the way that I need to food prep and get my veggies and carbs and macros and all of that shit. And then if I want to get a cheat meal, I go get the Snickers. Why are we combining this?
Because people need to lie to themselves to keep going forward. It's like as simple as that.
Stop lying to yourself.
It's like,
that's
no,
number one.
This is a healthy Oreo. I'm gonna go this route. It's just gonna
they
change
got
itself.
the thins. It was a TikTok video I fell down. It was, you know how many different types of Oreos there are?
I actually do not.
There's the regular, there's the double stuffed, there's like a mega stuffed. There are thins.
Don't ever say that to me.
I'm just talking about Oreos, man.
There we go.
The black and white thing. The zebra pack. Not to
You
be
watch your tone,
confused
sir.
with the zebra cake. We can move on. You ever had the birthday cake one?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to send you down big kid memory lane just now.
The Oreos in the sleeve and the ones that come in a little box are completely different tastes, and they taste different than the minis because they got the little mini ones. I don't care who you are. They all different. They lying to you.
All right, that's going to be it for my side of the game. And apparently Kyle's got a new segment that he wants to roll out.
It's called Cookies and Cream.
There we go.
We're going to talk about what it talks about, getting in between those. Nah, man, we're going to slide out of that. We're going to get into my own rip from the headlines this week. Now, coming in for the good, you keep on name dropping. We used to have the CTC policy. That's for the faithful listeners to go back when they was cutting checks. Now I feel like I'm name dropping, so I'm starting with Peloton.
Okay.
That's one of those companies that we didn't talk about them far too much on this podcast, and I may, in fact, have beef with them.
I don't know why, but go ahead, continue.
Putting my beef aside, I saw the story about My Brother's Keeper.
Okay.
Now, My Brother's Keeper was a group that Peloton highlighted of black men, of course, over 1,100 members in this community of men that just cycle in this accountability group.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, man, this is heartwarming. I wish there was something like this around, like when my dad was coming up, where he could get together with some folks for the greater good of their health and just that accountability. Like, shout out to Da Ichiro, you know what I'm saying? That's my accountability partner because we met on bikes, you know? So we always got to check in. That's just how it works, you know? So when I saw this story, it really, you know, warmed my heart up. How did you feel about seeing it?
It resonates the same way, man. It's fun for me to see not just our generation, but a generation that's coming before us adapting some of the best parts of what I would say this digital community in fitness could bring to you. Yeah, it's something that you look at this, a lot of these people could have retired and just sat on the couch and never touched anything again.
Which is the norm.
Yeah. So
socially acceptable norm.
anytime you get to build connection and have that kind of fellowship where people are going to be looking for you if you ain't clock in for that next ride, you literally changing people's lives. So I got to salute that every single time.
That's love, man. That was the good in the story. So now we got to slide into the bad.
Okay.
Now, the bad is something that I don't know the facts on this. If this is actually true, it could just be a marketing ploy.
This is already starting off in a great direction.
I want to talk about the good brother Nigel Sylvester and almost 2,000 pairs of his upcoming brick by brick Jordan 4 were stolen in a train heist. Now, number one, I love a good heist. When we talk about Oceans 8, 9, all the way up to 11 and Bernie Mac, I love a good bank robbery. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the planning and then the execution and then, accounting for the shit that you got to account for. Nonetheless.
Something tells me that the people trying to take off big sneakers was not planning like the Ocean's 11 people.
No. In fact, all 11 of them got jammed up and charged with stealing over 100,000
what?
I'm sorry, worth of Nike shoes.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Give me that number one more time.
I added a little extra decimal.
Don't worry, we'll take care of it in post, but I'm going to need you to give me that number one more time. Because you landed it confidently. But I confidently need to tell you that's not a number, bro. It's like, what the hell did you just say?
A gazillion.
Mad shoes, yo. They stole mad shoes.
People were charged with stealing over 440,000. I'm lost. I ain't got it. $500,000, damn it. Let's round up. We lost Tony.
Yo, you quit midway through that. My bad. So a bunch of people stole some sneakers from Nike. I got that.
Not just any sneakers. They stole Nigel Sylvester's brick by brick. Now, we've given this brother so much love on the show because the work and this runway that he has been on has been one of the greatest I've ever seen. Like,
it's unprecedented, for sure.
There's no way that you aren't informed by something that he's done at this point.
Yeah, you might not even be tapped into what cycling and his specific type of cycling is at all.
He hasn't even competed.
Never.
He's never been in the X Games.
Which is why it's brilliant, yo. He's never had to do any of that shit. He's like, yo, y'all do all that monkey shit over there. I'm gonna get to all these checks.
I'm literally in my own lane. The bike air lane. And there's nobody even remotely close.
Yeah, this is clearly showing, I think, a level of pandemonium, I should say. That
I would argue both when you have a bike ride in New York and LA at the same day with a PJ.
Yeah, jumping from New York to England to all the rest of that. And then having also the legitimately, I can't name you the last professional athlete other than Michael Jeffrey Jordan himself that has caused this much hysteria around a sneaker drop.
You don't say. These are actually Jordans, Tony.
Yeah.
But continue.
Because they have that little bike piece on the back. Jordan's putting out another pair of 4s, a week after these. These are, I think, like the 4th or 5th versions of his bike air kind of run with them. Every one of those have become legitimately coveted by everybody that's on the bikes in the streets, especially if you're riding like he rides in that BMX or like wheelie kind of style. You see that shoe outside. It's the actual feeling of what I would say the novel days of sneaker collecting is happening. Those shoes are keeping that alive for sure.
It's not only keeping it alive, I would argue that it's pushing that creative a step further. When you look at this breakdown of his incorporation with battle rap, his storytelling across multiple platforms, from videos to creating one-of-one bikes to the clothes that he's made that's biking specific.
The people that he's picking to put in them, it's all, again, he didn't leave any boxes unchecked. So I can't help but salute that dude for everything he's got going on.
Now, you talked about the last time a pair of Jordans caused this type of, what was the word you used again?
I meant to say pandemonium.
Pandemonium. That's exactly what we were talking about. I'm thinking about the cool gray 11s. You know, folks was getting got
smoked
around
for them
Christmas.
grays.
It was that, the breads. It was always the 11s. And I feel like it was oddly tied in to Space Jam, but we've never really uncovered that because remember, in Space Jam is when you get the first Jordan 11. And that's when I think, you know, on some Inception shit, that idea was planted in kids' minds that I would do anything that I can.
I'm gonna get these shoes.
To get these shoes. I'm gonna go through Bugs Bunny or whatever I gotta go through.
Rabbit season.
To get these J's. So, I mean, seeing this story again, we getting a little bit off track nonetheless. To steal and be caught immediately?
Fam, you're not getting away with $500,000 worth of merchandise today.
I wish I could say that number confidently. I can't right now. But $500,000 in merch. I mean, the shoes retail at $200. So, you know, it's still a good amount.
Those are felony numbers, bro. It's over the threshold for where somebody needs to care about it.
The issue was they had too many people. You know what I'm saying? Ocean's 11 and 8, you had a set staff. You know what I'm saying? You need the right folks. You don't need everybody a part of this.
Okay, so
too many loose ends.
Are you giving your good listeners tips on pulling off a heist? Is that what you're taking in?
Speaking on pulling off a heist, Tony, we're going to get into the ugly story that I was talking about, man. And the ugly this week was an article, not even an article, I'm lying, man. This was IG that I came across, right?
You was just scrolling.
I was just scrolling.
You can't call that an article.
People, that's what they do, though. I was reading the article the other day. Whole time.
He was on Instagram.
He was on Instagram. That's not a real...
That does not count.
...data source. You know what I mean? You check your facts on that. Nonetheless, Apple has entered into what we're seeing as a class action lawsuit for their band or the bands of the Apple Watch, so to speak. So this class action lawsuit is happening because there were forever chemicals found in the plastics of the bands of the Apple Watches, specifically in the Nike band, the Sport band as well, and I believe there's one other band that was listed, which is arguably the ones that I've always had, Tony.
Yeah, all the watches that everybody has, unless you get the Hermes if you're flexing on them.
Which, if you got a Hermes Apple Watch, I ain't gonna say that. Go play in traffic. You know what I'm saying? Go roll the dice that way. But when you see a story like this, what are your immediate thoughts on something like this being risen to the surface?
I mean, I think it's terrible that there's chemicals inside of a product that you put on your body that can harm you.
But it's been known to cause rashes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. It's been known to cause rashes, irritate people's skin, and lead to cancer.
Yeah, so the cancer is going to be the one that I'm most concerned with. Like the rashes and everything else, the skin irritations, that's terrible, but you can also just take the watch off and that'll go away. I don't think cancer works the same way. So since that is a little bit more insidious, that's the part that I'm going to focus on right now. Right? So in that space, yeah, it's terrible that a consumer-facing product can potentially pose cancer. And as a person who is nearing my 40th birthday, I'm going to tell you this is the same as any product that I have ever touched across my entire life. So I can't say that I'm surprised by this. And I feel like all of the forever chemical conversations only work on people your age and younger. This is like, yo, fam, I've been here for too long. I'm eating like a credit card a day at this point for plastic. I'm on my way out, fam.
Yo, a credit card a day worth of plastic? If they make commercials like that, like how they did The Truth with smoking,
yeah, exactly.
Just imagine every Polar Spring.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yo, fam, I already got 40 years of this shit. It's not going to get better from here on out.
Damn it. Every time you got that plastic bag from the deli.
You know it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Every time you ate Chinese food out of a container that was melting into the food. You know who you are.
There's a lot of them rough nights.
Them damn chicken wings had plastic in it. That's what seasoning was.
That's a nasty. That is a nasty little note you left right there, and I don't appreciate it.
Seasonings.
Because it was a fact, and I don't even want to take it there no more, Tony. I'm actually going to slide out of that topic, and we're going to slide into my Raising the Bar segment this week, because that was ugly. That's the ugly note that we just ended on. I don't even want to go back there. It's bringing up the trauma of red dye number 3.
See?
and all the other things that are actively killing me as I live. That's why I got to fight every day. You got to pay rent because it's due. Nonetheless, let's raise the bar.
Let's raise it up.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type from near and far, you are now in store to raise your bar. Brother Tone.
Yes, sir.
Man, oh man. When the top of the show, we talked about, things you had to do to stay on track, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Recharge that battery.
Recharge your battery. But what happens when you burn out? Like, what happens when you operating from the red at all times?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all you have. It's like, my battery ain't seen over 50 in some time now. I can only charge it for X amount of time, but I got shit that I need to do.
Yeah.
Right? I've reached that burnout zone. Like, and it took me a while to sit into it, to feel it. I think a lot of times we often get the idea of how we feel, and then we don't take the time to sit in that moment because you got too many other things to do realistically. Your work, your spouse, your kids, your dog, the hoes on the side, whatever you got going on.
Some of those choices are questionable.
I'm just speaking of how it used to be.
I didn't say which ones. I just said some of them.
Listen, you got to balance it how you balance it. But when you do reach that burnout spot, it's almost like the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the rock bottom space. I'm thinking about that being different for everyone.
Yeah.
My endpoint and how I can actively function from that endpoint is vastly different from my ladies, from yours, from anybody else. But I do think that it's important to get to a space where you focus on how are you talking to yourself, right? Like, how are you talking to yourself when you had a bad day? How are you talking to yourself when you had a good day? In what tone are you speaking about the things that you're doing? You gave me this little gem and this little assist, if you will, of what would it be like to write an apology letter to yourself for reaching that point of being burnt out, right? Now, I ain't take the time to write the full letter. I ain't gonna let you know I had a lot of shit going on, Tone.
I'm not mad.
In life. But I was thinking about it for a minute, and it really took me down this path of thinking about the month of February. Mm-hmm. The month of February is over. Black History Month is over. This was oddly probably one of the best and worst Black History Months I've been a part of in a long time, in the sense of I've never been more set up for success, if you will.
Okay.
Like, forward, to have something to look forward to. Like, I guess anxious, if you will, but I don't even like to use the word anxiety in that way, but just really, anticipating, if you will.
Okay.
A lot of times February is a bad month, but nonetheless, this apology letter idea came to mind, and I'm like, damn. I'm thinking about all the workouts I done skipped, all my poor food choices, when I got the burger, the fries, and the shake. Yeah, I ain't really need the shake, you know what I'm saying? But, like, I wanted it. But
I was on a mission at that point.
I didn't want to deprive myself from what I wanted at the same time, but I know better. You know what I mean? Now, when I'm thinking about when I wanted to do more artistically, but I took that nap that day, but I needed that nap because I had to heal. And I'm thinking about, when I told, the fam, yo, I'm gonna give you a call later this week. I ain't called nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't seen no text. I might have liked your story on IG, but realistically, that
ain't the same as catching up.
It ain't the same. I'm thinking about the times when I was committed to journaling every day. Mm-hmm. And when I woke up and I had too much shit to do, I couldn't journal that day. And I didn't pick that pen up. I'm thinking about the day that I got hurt. Mm-hmm. Like, every decision that I could have done differently to not have been in that situation, right? I'm thinking about displacing anger from that situation and sending it to, whoever was closest, just because I'm frustrated. And it really allowed me to sit in this moment of like, oh, all right, I got it out. I said it. I feel good that I no longer have these things weighing on me, right? It's not taking up space in my mind. It's not clouding anything. And I can, like I said, look forward to what I have coming, like next day, next month, next year. Like, yo, let's fucking get it. It was a lot.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So when I got to this end of this letter, brother, my question to you would then be, since you gave me this prompt, what has your apology letter to yourself been like? Because I can only assume you wrote one for yourself.
If I have to think about it from that standpoint, it's always going to read in the direction of patience. I think for myself, the thing that I have to really be understanding of is the things that I want to do as they grow in size. The time coefficient is not always the same. And that leads to when you do run into those situations of burnout presenting themselves, you have to be aware of your flaws, to be honest with you. So when do you notice yourself getting short? Like, when do you notice yourself feeling, I would say, those aspects that tie to ego? Is like, you got to be right on this. This is the hill that you're trying to die on right now?
Yeah.
This is a sign that
I'm not wrong.
yeah. There's a lot of warning signs that you're starting to get into that space. At least I would say, speaking specifically for myself, I can understand when certain things are weighing on you too heavily, or when my base level reaction is in this position that I don't feel comfortable with. And I think it's really important to try to articulate that as Black men specifically, because we don't always use the words that sound like the textbook definitions when you're talking about you being in burnout, or you being in depression, or you being in a space where anxiety or any of those other things could kind of manifest. But you hear it in the exchange. We just don't identify it the right way. Yo, how you living, fam? Oh, man, hanging in there.
Staying out the way.
You know, can't call it. Like, all of that. All of those coded ways of saying, yo, I am going through it right now.
Yes.
Are the signs and symptoms of what that burnout kind of, at least is for me, when you start to talk to yourself in a way that is indicative of negativity, that's going to be something that ends up fostering that feeling of burnout. And I would say at the end of the day, whatever you're putting off, whatever you're not getting to, the fact that you didn't do it, if you're doing that in a restorative way, it should feel restorative, right? So whatever that decision was to, I'm going to hold off on this because I don't want to do too much. If you feel good after making that decision, that's an indication of something that is feeding what I would say your purpose is, your passion is, right? If you do that and then feel worse, meaning like, oh man, I didn't do this thing, I put this more pressure on me, I shrunk the amount of time that I have to do this thing, and now it's unrealistic for me to even complete it. Like, those kind of feelings and sensations, even though it might make you be more productive, it's just putting you in more panic. Prolonged panic is why you're burning out. It's like you took something that should have taken 4 days and you got it done in 2 hours. That doesn't mean that you were massively efficient at that.
I'm the greatest.
No, it doesn't have to get
I'm the
down.
GOAT.
Like, why do you have to put yourself in a situation where you're diffusing a bomb for situations that don't need to be that dire, right? So all of that to say, if you
It's
cannot,
the thrill of the game, man.
yeah,
They still gonna love me the same.
yeah. At some point, everybody who thinks like that, they end up in the same place, and this is what we're trying to avoid, right? So if you can identify the bullshit, and where
That's the bullshit you tell yourself.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the justification.
Just so they know, in case anybody didn't catch that one.
Right. It's all of the justifications that you give yourself as to why you're doing whatever it is that you're doing on this high wire. You got to understand that that's all of those, whatever that justification is the stuff that you should be apologizing to yourself for.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm sorry that I put this type of pressure on you. Hey, I'm sorry that I made you have to feel like you got to be the last action fucking hero for every situation that you go into.
I mean, that's
can be
necessary for survival at times. But I definitely have been a lot more lenient on myself than others. And I don't know if that is something that it should obviously be worked on and improved upon, but I couldn't tell you the origin of it, you know?
Yeah, I think it's honestly something that you have to sit with for a little bit, right? Like, is the leniency a way to excuse consequence? Or is it because, you know, it's something that honestly is needed for whatever the circumstance was?
It's a little of both, especially when you're coming from a place of healing, right? Like physically healing and being injured, where it's like, yo, I want to do this, that, and the third. Oh, I ain't do it today. Fine, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll double up tomorrow. That tomorrow grows a little bit longer, but I also needed to rest for that amount of time, right? So it very much is a throttle, like you said, right? Like, it's something that has to go up and come down and ebb and flow, man. And we gonna ebb and flow right into a little relax responsibly segment, Brother Tone.
Okay, why don't you tell me and the good listeners out there how you got a chance to relax since we went away, Brother Jones?
You know, I did two things towards the end of this Black History Month, if you will, that arguably might have been, and I'm gonna just flat out say it, the whitest things I have ever done in my life, Tony.
I told you, one of my favorite things is hearing New Brooklyn complain about how white Brooklyn is.
Yeah.
Which is white people complaining to you about it being too many whites in the establishment is something that I'm never going to have a belly full of laughter.
It's like going to Popeyes and complaining about the chicken.
It's like, yo, why is so many of y'all here? It's like, yo, excuse me?
Y'all only have chicken here?
How do you want me to respond to this?
You don't have duck at Popeyes?
Exactly.
Yeah, no. I went to Vermont.
Okay.
I took a trip up there.
That's what's up, man.
It's wild up there, nonetheless.
You getting some northern exposure?
I didn't know that you had to drive through Massachusetts to get to Vermont. Like on the map, it get real sticky over there sometimes, you know. Nonetheless, there was a wild homeless population like in the city, like in the spot where I was going to like thrift at and do all this other fly shit. There's a couple people that asked me for some money that did not look like me. It's like, bro, if you don't get your ass up out of here, like during Black History Month, how dare you?
All right.
Sorry, that was one. The second thing that I did was I had a little ear seating event, Tony. Now, when I say ear seating, what comes to mind?
And that sounds like you had. I hope whoever you met in Vermont treated you well.
This did not take place in Vermont.
Respected you after the fact.
This is in New York. This is in LIC. There was no respect displaced in ear seating. I need you to relax. What I am going to do is educate you in this moment because you clearly are quite ignorant to the ancient practice of a good ear seating.
Okay. Is that how they got you on board? You had to be educated for the ear seating.
Yeah, man, you had to close your eyes and rub the tree of hope twice.
See? Here we go.
Nah, man, I did get a chance to attend a wellness event where it was a sound bath and there was an optional ear seating, which I opted into. It's one of those things that is Western medicine, like akin to acupuncture.
Yeah.
When you think about like cupping and things of that and things of that nature, they essentially put like 5 little. It looks like little stones. They were like sterling silver kind of stones that sit into your ear, like wrapped on the inside of it. It's supposed to reset your nervous system, keep you calm, you know, all those things. We just talked about fight or flight. That's a very real thing. It shit just felt like I had something in my ear, bro. I can't even say.
You know, I'm
otherwise.
never going to be the kind of guy to take away somebody else's joy.
You know?
Hey, man, we need to have all types of access and exposure to unconventional means
Somebody got to do it.
Healing yourself.
This is some organic thug shit. It was silver. It matched my jewelry. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why I said, if we are underneath disproportionate amount of pressure, we need disproportionate amount of ways to alleviate said pressure. So shout out to you for trying and getting your ears seated.
We're going to sign you up next, bro.
Nah, I'm smooth on that.
We're going to get both of your ears, not just one.
We good, you know? I'm gonna stay seatless over on my side.
Make sure the application is real sticky for you.
Nah, we good. You know, I'm cool on that, bro. Yeah, so I was relaxing with no seeds. Quite literally.
It's an ear seed. Yes.
Nah, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I got a chance to have some of the best meals that I have had. I'm gonna say in the last 5 years or plus on this damn vacation, man. And I gotta be honest, the time spent with quality food, quality people, and quality music is something that is always going to make my heart sing. I did not want to come back, Kyle.
You didn't want to go.
No, I didn't either.
And me, you want to come back. Look at that.
Yeah, man. That's sometimes you got to let, the force relaxation happen to you, too. So that's how I was relaxing this week, man.
You just had to dip out in the jungle, man.
I damn sure did, yo. I got, again, Colombia is going to be one of my favorite places to visit forever. The coffee was damn good, too. But forever and for always, the number of black people that you see in Colombia is something that is so shocking. It's kind of like, yo, no black? They are black. Yes, they are. I'm telling you, yo, it is a beautiful sight to see. There's like, yo, they are Caribbean Latins who are dark skinned. It's not just from these 2 handfuls of places that they gave us, yo. So I love seeing that. That recharges my battery. I'm a man of the equator. Every time I get down there, I'm just like, yeah.
A man of the equator is crazy. That's almost crazier than ear seeding.
Nah.
but we gonna let
That's
it
where
go.
my people come from, yo. I feel like my soul was recharged, Kyle.
You play the drum down there?
Nah, I didn't play the drums. You know what? We are gonna move on to this story.
He ain't real.
No, they had them down there, but you know it was. It may not have been some other stuff that was happening. If you played the drums, it might have came with a little bit of extra. You know, I didn't have time for on this trip, but there will be more.
All right, you got it.
Speaking of which, Kyle, I want to move into Mind Over Matter for this week, man, and I wanted to talk a little bit about Victor Quiñones.
Okay.
I saw this, and it's an example of what I would want to aim for in elevating my art, taking a subject and literally blowing it up to a level that most people have not seen. So the Brooklyn-based street artist, mixed media artist that just came out with his ice cream sculptures, and just seeing it being a commentary on everything that's happening with deportation, but also literally using the ice cream like models and the ices, like I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream, like the play on that to talk about what's happening with our immigration status is kind of a crazy thing, but I think it made the right type of noise. So I wanted to point that out as something that was not only motivational and inspirational, because I do want to see every piece of my art take that same level of extension. It's like, yo, what does it look like to hyper focus on a topic and blow it up? So saw this article in the LA Times.
You going to describe the art, brother? Come on, man.
Why don't you break that out for me, man?
So the art that we're seeing, ice cream sculptures like popsicles, essentially, and handcuffs on popsicles,
and
like
images
ice,
of immigrants inside
being
those.
the metaphor for the immigration services people. No, that's amazing.
Migra.
You know, when I had to go to the post office before class this morning. Yeah, I saw some of the work. It's amazing work, truly. It's different color popsicles. It's like a neon, bright, you can't miss it, greens, yellows, but then photos of actual immigrants and handcuffs. It's nuts. I went to the post office this morning. I had to ship an organic thug hat. I still have merch. People still like randomly buy it. It's one of those things where like I could have a really good week or a slow week, but orders still come in. Nonetheless, I'm at the post office. I'm waiting in line. There's a black woman in line in front of me, and then there's a couple that is obviously Latino, and they have someone that's translating for them because they're trying to get like a passport situation.
See, I was almost triggered by your blatantly racist statement.
Latino,
you said that they were obviously Latino. What made them obviously Latino, Kyle? I just told you that we got some darks down there, too.
The Nikes they had on.
You're
the
terrible.
Book bag the mother had on.
You're a terrible person.
The daughter, it was multiple kids. It was 2 kids to be exact. The daughter, the youngest one, was on the ground eating a bag of like Cheetos. So the little girl, she hungry. It's 10 in the, it's not even 10. Yeah, it might be like 9:30 in the morning. Little baby got some Cheetos. She eating them off the ground. The black woman in front of me goes, the baby's eating them off the ground. The translator's like, oh my God, I'm sorry. She grabs the little girl, and then the little girl and the mom, and they finally get her. But it's like, yo, for one, why she got Cheetos at 9 in the morning? She shouldn't even have those. 2, why are you allowing this young lady? You not vigilant enough to have her picking it up off the ground, and then, you know, they're trying to get citizenship, right? They're trying to get their passport, so the translator is telling them the cost and things of that nature. Immediately after that, a white woman comes in with her family, husband, grandparents. They got the Maybach stroller. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have more to care for this child. And it was literally just a mind fuck of like, damn, bro, this is the world we live in. This is Brooklyn. This is where we at.
Yeah, man. And, you know, some of the stuff that we make big deals about, I'm telling you, is only our culture. It's like it don't translate everywhere.
No, she could not hold that in. The black lady did social justice today when she called the baby's eating off the ground.
She couldn't help it.
It's like,
damn, it was jumping out of her.
Yeah, she was watching it the whole time. You know how they be watching. This. Y'all see this? But that very much be the energy of the postal workers too, which is why I be on my best. Yes, ma'am. How you doing? Hope you have a good weekend. God bless you. You know what I'm saying? That's my post office.
Now you know that the federal workers know UFC skills. That's what you better be on, bro. You get thrown in the chokehold in the office.
The post office I go to, they know a little more than UFC. They've been on the block. Man's got a gold chain and the Nikes every time. I know his kind. I'm gonna leave it at that.
You've been.
It sounds like I'm hopeful for something, but I'm gonna ask you what you hoping for first,
I
Tony.
hope that your vigilance on the races of people in your neighborhood is somehow diminished as we move into.
They were speaking
warmer,
Spanish. Obviously, that
warmer
Nikes
months.
identified them, but they were speaking Spanish, Tony. Like
I
it
hope
was
you
clear.
become a more neighborly person after you get off of the burnout. And,
I am so neighborly.
Embrace your community, God. That's what I'm hopeful for this week.
I embrace the folks that embrace me through a little ear seating. Now, I'm hopeful this week.
There was some embracing happening with that.
I'm hopeful that the folks that go back and rewind the Raising the Bar segment about the apology to themselves actually take the time to apologize to themselves. It's the beginning of March. Spring is right around the corner. Q1 is coming to an end. You got effectively 9 months to get your shit together and turn this year into something that you want it to be.
All right, and if they want to turn this year into the thing that they want it to be and keep up with their health and wellness along that journey, Kyle, where would the good listeners out there need to go in order to be informed by the best damn people in the industry?
Man, if you're on IG, you can visit us at @offthestrength_, or if you're feeling freaky, come on down to Rockefeller Center, and Tony will be here to greet you live and direct at the block of the Rock at Newsstand Studios. If you can't make it, you could always visit Instagram at Rockefeller Center or X at Rock Center NYC.
And if you make it down live, Kyle will let you seed his ears. Once again, it's been another fantastic
You
episode
can't
of
touch
Off
him,
the
though.
Train.
Just look.
I'm a trainer called Tony.
KR Jones.
Peace and much love to y'all out there. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Peace.
You can seed his ear. Hey, yo.
You can't touch it, though. It's gonna cost you.
He's selling ear picks, yo. He's selling ear picks on the what?
It's an untapped market. You didn't even know it existed.
Low life. He's gonna come back around. What's good, everybody? I'm a trainer called Tony, and I am here from the infamous Off the Strength podcast, asking you today, listeners, viewers, wherever you may be, to please like, listen, and subscribe to our podcast. This is how we're going to continue to be able to deliver you the best goddamn wellness information out here. So if you want to keep hearing this and you want us to keep growing, you are a part of this show just as much as anything else. So please go to offthestrength.com. Make sure you check out our blogs. Make sure you check us out on IG. And if you're hearing this voice and you didn't hit that subscribe button, know that Kyle is going to come looking for you.
You got that right.